Welcome to the Currency of Knowledge, a County National Bank wealth management podcast, the podcast where we unravel the layers of prosperity, explore the diverse meanings of wealth, and delve into the stories of those who have built their own versions of abundance. I'm your co-host, Christopher Phillips.
And I'm Holly Baker. Join us on this insightful journey as we redefine wealth beyond the balance sheets and uncover the true riches that life has to offer. Let's explore the essence of wealth in all its forms. Well, welcome back to the Currency of Knowledge. We are continuing on with our educational series. Today we have Mark Dingy with us. Mark is part of County National Bank. He is in our commercial lending area. Mark specializes in ag, and when we do the introduction, I'll do my Go Green. So.
Go away.
Perfect.
Well, we're super excited to have Mark here. You know, Mark has, how long have you been with the bank?
4 years.
4 years. So Mark and I had the privilege to have my office next to Mark when he first started at the bank. Now you're located in Lansing, but we were office buddies for a little bit and really enjoyed getting to know you and really enjoyed the passion that you bring to the ag lending side of the house. And, you know, in the markets that we serve, agriculture is one of the top industry, if not the top industry in the markets that we serve. So the work that you do is not only important to the bank's performance, but it's important to our community's importance. So really appreciate the work that you do to help our farm families grow their business and be successful.
Thank you.
So let's just jump right in.
Yeah.
When you're working with ag clients, how's it different? I guess I'll start, how's it different than, and why is it a specialized area of lending versus just, you know, commercial lending?
So I think the nature of ag, you know, if we kind of follow history, 100 years ago or however many, you know, it was a while ago, like there's a lot more people tied to ag, there are more jobs. I think the last statistic is like 2% of our population is farm or involved in farming. So just there's a knowledge gap there that just naturally, because, you know, not as many people are doing it per se, or grew up on a farm. You know, you could go back a couple generations and it was much more common that people grow up on a farm. I think there's that nuance. And then second, ag is just a specialized business where we have price risk. You know, I'm not a price setter, I'm a price taker. I have weather risk. So I can say in the last 3 years, we've gone, you know, especially down here, we got just different blights, black tar spot. Then all of a sudden, hey, we were wet in the spring, we were dry in the fall or dry in the late summer. And so yield wasn't quite what we thought it would be. So you got that. And then it's super capital intensive. So what the heck does that mean? Like it takes a lot of capital, meaning machinery, equipment, land, you know, if you're in livestock facilities, to where it requires a lot of capital, aka money.
Even just dealing with the manure is expensive.
Oh, there's complete businesses now that just all they do is haul manure for farms. So like it's very nuancy in that, and then it's seasonal. When you put all that together, it's a very unique business. It's super rewarding. I think every business owner has the fabric of who they are tied up into it. I remember when Grandpa bought the first tractor, I spent a lot of time with my clients learning from them because I don't know everything, and ag's continually changing. Technology, you know, we look at technology and everything. We have variable rate seeders, so I mean you can GPS, you can program like, hey, this part of the field's gonna get a little more seed than this part. You know, it's incredible.
And the planter plants it based on
the pressure based on moisture and what kind of soil it is. So like when you put that together, and then guess what? The farmer's got to communicate with the lender, you know, and so you have a lot of unique things about the business that I would say are a little less atypical than, like, let's say I'm running a manufacturing business and, you know, whether it's cold outside or warm outside, you know, I'm producing this many widgets per se, you know, that's a little more, we'll say, status quo. So you throw in those dynamics and it makes it really, I would say, sometimes very stressful, challenging, which I do relish that. It's fun to dig in with a client and if they're going through an expansion or things like that and all the things that go into that, but also really rewarding.
So we talked a lot about farm. But one thing I'm curious about, and it's just relevant timing to when we're recording this, is if you might, before we get deep dive into kind of what you do and how you like to communicate with your borrowers, is if you could just kind of discuss how are the economic policies out of Washington affecting what's going to happen on local farms, or maybe it won't. And so, just if you could talk a little bit about what lending, what the banks are thinking about that, but also what you're hearing from your clients about the tariffs.
If I knew exactly, if I had the 8 ball and knew exactly what it was, we'd probably have a different podcast on, should I go long or short on something. So big picture, it depends. Michigan specifically, I think we're like the second or third most diversified ag state in the country. I think California might beat us out.
From products, you mean?
From products, yeah. So, if you go up to Traverse City or Grand Rapids area, you got fruit, right? You got Fruit Ridge, go there, okay. You head to the Thumb, you head to northern Michigan. Actually, there's a pocket in mid-Michigan and down here, dairy. So we have we're a great dairy state for many reasons. And then we have specialty crops up in the Thumb. So you got your sugar beets. In St. John's, we used to grow, I think, more mint. I think we still do. And then, we have specialty beans in the Thumb. And then you have just your, well, not say generic, but corn, soybeans, and wheat. And so we're really diversified. And so it just depends. Are we going to see some challenges? Sure. I don't know exactly what those are. We're talking like just corn and beans. Our price has already come down off the high from a few years ago. China takes some corn, but not as much as it used to. It takes some soybeans. So at the end of the day, it's a commodity regardless. And so the world needs to eat. And so if there's going to be an element there where sure, it could impact where we source inputs, fertilizer, probably will be the bigger impact, I think.
The Canadian potash.
Yeah. So we get a lot of our potash from Canada. So at the end of the day, it depends. And so I wish I could give you a better hey, exactly this is what it's going to be. And so I'll get the question, well, what should I be doing? This isn't the first time in history we've had tariffs. If we go back in time, there's plenty of times where we've had some trade challenges, I'll say. It's not the first time in history where we've seen equipment prices go up and our net margin go down. So I think at the end of the day, you get the core fundamentals still are there. It's ag is who can produce the most at the least cost, not the most, not the least cost, the most at the least cost. So the margin. It's not if we see cycles in the business, it's when. And so it's positioning yourself before that comes to be able to weather that storm. And ironically, when there's to some degree tough economic challenges, that also actually breeds opportunity. I would say it just depends on what side of the coin you are. Dairy, we might see some. We export a decent amount of dairy products to Mexico. At the end of the day, that's super complex too, because if we look at our total livestock herd in the nation, we're like some of the lowest numbers since I think like the 1950s. And so when you're looking at I'm sure everyone at the grocery store has seen cost of a burger, cost of a steak, it's expensive. Well, even with cheap feed prices, it's expensive at what they got to buy it at and what they're selling it at. And I've seen some interesting talks on that even at this record high price we're selling it at, that there potentially is very little margin. If you're finishing out steers, for example,
because not the input cost, but the actual
cost
of the
animal
the
at the beginning.
calf that you bought.
It's the prices are insane. From in my relatively short career of lending, 13, 14 years, I can go back 7, 8 years, and you couldn't give away a calf. You couldn't. And so that's where ag is so diversified to the point where that having that knowledge, especially when you're working with a bank, is super important to do they A, understand your operation, and then B, do they actually understand ag in general? And that's a hard thing, just going back to when we started, And it takes time to learn that, and then are you staying up on it? And so,
On the next segment, we're going to talk about how you communicate with your lender. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
At County National Bank, our commitment to you goes beyond banking. We believe in curious conversations to build personal relationships and deliver local expertise.
Our private banking services offer personalized solutions, expert advice, and dedicated support, allowing you to focus on what truly matters.
Experience the peace of mind that comes with having a trusted financial partner. Whether you're growing your business, planning for the future, or enjoying the present, we are here for you.
Private banking at County National Bank. Personal service, expert advice, and peace of mind.
And we're back. All right, so let's talk lending and finance and some of the documents perhaps that you ask your clients for and what those documents look like. So if I was coming to you, what is the first document you'd want from me?
as I was driving to the podcast this morning, I had an old client of mine reach out to me and just sharing, hey, I'm looking at doing this. And I said, hey, before I can get going, I said, can I get the last 5 years tax returns? And I said, can I also get the last 5 years of your year-end balance sheets?
Okay. So
And
why do you want those from
Yeah,
us?
so why are those important? So
Especially 5 years.
Yeah.
Man, you're really digging in.
I really am. And so when I ask for it, and I do follow up with why, I'm big on like, hey, I'm not going to ask you for something, and here's why I'm asking for it, is trends. And so when I look at a 5-year average, I can generally, I know the high prices and the low prices, and reasonably I can sit there and kind of get an idea of like, okay, what's the average when you're looking at your business income? Is it sustainable and repeatable is the term. You know, what if I had a outline year where, hey, yields were just really good. You know, I did exceptional, highest yield ever. Well, can I do that every year? Probably not. So just that trend. And then within that, I can sometimes see if they're preparing their balance sheets, I can see what they're doing. One of my very early mentors goes, well, if you're going to be wrong, just be consistent. So what I mean by that is like, I don't expect my clients or even business owners to be accountants per se. But I do think there's a reasonable knowledge that everyone should have in finance as far as what are the components of a balance sheet and why is it important. So when we're talking specifically in ag, I ask for those tax returns, and I always kind of chuckle because I've never met anybody yet who says, I want to pay more taxes. And so your CPA or your tax preparer, or if you're doing it yourself, your goal is to what? I'm gonna get my income down so I don't
Buy a
have,
new tractor so I can.
yeah, right. I don't want to pay taxes, right? So I'm gonna make my tax return look less. Okay, well, how can I do that specifically in ag? There's a little box on top of your tax return that says cash or accrual, and you know our government allows you to file a cash return. So what does that mean? Well, cash accounting is simply I'm going to record the income and the expense when it actually hits the checkbook. So for example, if I get to the end of the fall, I'm having a banner year, I can deliver my corn or beans or whatever commodity it is, and I can tell the elevator, I'm going to have a lot of income here if I take that check now. Hey, can you hold that for 2 weeks? Might be December. And guess what? I don't record that on my top income line. And by the way, you know what? There's a good deal on seed. I'm going to get my seed dealers calling on me. November, December, huge sale. They always have the discounts. I get a 10% discount or whatever that is. If I prepay, I'm going to cut that check now. So all of a sudden, I've reduced my income and I've increased my expenses. There's my tax return. Totally correct. Totally acceptable. Now, if I didn't do a balance sheet right at 12/31, and I call my lender, hey, you know what? My neighbor wants to sell me this farm, 80 acres. And I get your tax return. And if I have no knowledge in kind of ag and how that can be done, I go, hey, just give me your tax returns. Very common request from most lenders. I did this, and this. Okay. Well, there's the paradox of if I'm just looking at the tax return, specifically in ag, although this applies to other businesses too. It's called accrual adjustments. Well, that's a big fancy term. What the heck is an accrual adjustment? Well, in the accounting world, which is GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, which when we say that generally, that means there's room for just different courses of action. They're totally acceptable. They're just generally accepted. We're going to move those income and expenses into the year of which they're actually incurred. So for example, if I held off, we'll just use a number, $100,000 of corn sales in December to January of next year, on my balance sheet, I should have a line item in there, receivable for $100,000, deferred price, XYZ, and then, I prepaid $100,000 of seed. So that's a $200,000 move on my tax return that reduces my income on paper, but it's actually true to what my real profitability is. And so that right there is a complex thing that accountants can articulate it. They do it every day, right? And so I spend a lot of time just talking through that with my borrowers. Hey, it's totally fine. Keep doing that. But this is why this 1231 balance sheet is critically important to understanding. So no matter what business you're in, if I'm cash accounting, I'm going to get my tax liability down, but that could distort what my real profitability is as far as A, if you're looking at just analyzing your own business, how you're doing, but B, if you're communicating with your lender. So long explanation on why, but that's why I ask for, hey, I want multiple years, and then, so we can see that trend. And then also the same context, I'll go the next step, and I'll, part of the sit down discussion is, well, how many acres were you farming here? Or how many cows were you milking? And where are you at today? Because, if I'm in growth mode in my business.
Can I ask you a quick question? So you've got the balance sheet,
Yep.
tax returns, you're doing your accrual adjustments.
Yep.
You then going back to your borrower
Mm-hmm.
and saying, hey, let's go through this. Let's have a deep dive conversation. So that's where we're at now.
Yep.
In the process where you're saying, hey, let's get more granular here. How many acres did you plant in corn this year? That sort of thing, right?
Yep, exactly. There's some nuance even in there. I'm going to go back and say, hey, I'm going to ask you some detailed questions, and this is why, right? So you can kind of even get more granular and go, hey, your average net income per acre has been this. And so why I like doing that, part of it is getting nitty gritty, but I'm driving down the road and to an appointment, client calls or potential client, and they're like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And the beautiful part is if I have that information, if they want, it's not uncommon to where a borrower, client, or even potential will run something by me like, hey, what do you think about that? What do you think the bank's going to think about that? Oh, the whole idea is we're in this to make money, right? The better detailed financials like that to tell your story help when an opportunity comes. So a lot of people might want to say, well, so-and-so is lucky. And my saying I'll tell clients is luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I've had some clients, really good clients, where I sit there and go, hey, do you have year-end balance sheets? And they're like, no, not really. We've never really, no one's really asked us. And so we've had to take the time and go, hey, let's go back and recreate them. It's going to be some work, but we need to do this because, hey, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Really, it's kind of understanding, well, where does the client want to go? In the continuum of the business arch, that's where I try to really understand, hey, are you just kind of status quo here? We're gonna run this out. No one's really taking over the operation. Or, hey, I'm in growth mode. I'd like to get to here. And so you get that good basis of information. And I like to turn the conversation not from, we'll say a fire drill, hey, I need this, to more proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And the beautiful part there is like, hey, we have certain financial metrics that, the bank would say are prudent. And what I'll tell people is, hey, these are just good financial principles to where you could go borrow money anywhere with these. That's where, I like to counsel clients is it's not just, can the bank get it done? It's, hey, what are we doing? What are some good principles for the fact of, hey, 3 years ago, didn't even see potential, all this tariff talk. Not really.
Right.
Did we see, corn price maybe falling this high? Well, if you looked at history, I would say it's a matter of time. And so how do you position yourself for that? And so I reverse engineer with clients, say, hey, where do you want to go? Okay, well, what's that going to cost? What's the impact today? And every operation is different on that time to scale up. And it takes working capital, even in a business that's profitable. If they want to grow, it takes more, fancy term, working capital. I catch myself. Well, now counsel clients and hey, not all working capital is the same. Cash is actually, I would say, pretty vitally important.
Cash is king.
It is king. So someone might be, well, what's good working capital? Well, that's kind of dependent. And so and this is where it'll depend. I'll say it'll be dependent because, well, it depends on your financial position. Well, what the heck is that? What is your financial position? Well, it's a combination of earnings and debt. And so I'll spend some time working with clients on a debt per unit. There's some baseline metrics out there, but with those historical numbers, you can start kind of going like, hey, are we trending towards we have more debt per income unit, which would just naturally put more stress even if I maintain that same profitability, or man, my income units keep going up and my debt's staying the same, which actually means my profitability, my power is going up. So all those just take time. And so, I'll get people want to do something like, how quickly can you get this done? And guess what? I hate to say this answer a lot. It depends, a quick little loan is different than, a big loan. Well, what's a big loan? Well, start talking $1 million more, that's a big loan, right? Even $500,000, and it's dependent on the size and scope. If you're just starting out, a couple $100,000 to you is a lot of money. It's all relative. And so the beautiful part about financials are, you can break things down on percentages and, having that information. And so maybe you're sitting here going like, I've never done a balance sheet, and what the heck is that? I will tell you, I have many stories where I've spent a couple of years before I did a deal with a client, just kind of getting to know them or understanding where they want to go and going, hey, I need to understand this. You're asking me, does this make sense? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a business advisor per se, but all I do is, I'm not a bean counter per se.
But you are relationship driven.
Yes.
And that's important to the conversation. So you're not necessarily advising on how to run the operation.
Correct.
But you are building a relationship so that you can position your client in the best possible light for the bank, so that as opportunity presents itself, they're prepared, like you said earlier.
Correct. I would say that's a great point. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're really talking about is people's livelihoods and what they want to do and where they want to go. And, just fundamentally understanding that helps. And it's amazing how much a balance sheet and income statement and pro forma, what the heck is that? What's a projection? Well, what the heck is that? Well, what do I use that term a lot. What do I reasonably anticipate it's going to cost me to do this? What do I reasonably think I can make? And guess what? I have had lots of clients give me projections. This is the famous saying is, why should I do that, Mark? It's just going to be wrong. It's just going to change. And I'm like, well, yeah, but we can also sit there and kind of go, well, you've spent X amount on fertilizer the last 5 years. We're probably going to spend that amount, whether there's, maybe the price goes down a little bit and we can account for that. But I said, I kind of will equate it to like a leaky roof. You might have a leak in your roof and notice there's a little water stain, but I'm not getting water on me yet. But there's a problem developing. And so it's twofold. People need money when their business is stressed, and people need money when their business is expanding.
I think that's a great time. We'll take another break and we'll be right back.
County National Bank Wealth Management offers a range of services to support you now and in the future, whether it's investment management, estate planning, or estate and trust settlement for your loved ones. We can assist you in planning, preparing, and prospering. At County National Bank, we recognize the importance of trust, both in life and in death. With decades of experience and a commitment to integrity, we handle every aspect of the trust and estate settlement process with precision and care. When it comes to matters of trust and legacy, you deserve peace of mind.
And we're back. All right. Well, Mark, let's talk a little bit about, it's such a relationship-driven area that you're in, as it is for most of us in the bank. But talk to us a little bit about how you're cultivating those relationships and as you continue to work with your clients, move them forward.
Yeah. I'd say the number one thing that personally drives me is just I care about people and where they're going, And so whether that's in the beginning phase of business, in the middle phase, or the end phase. And I have on both.
In wealth management, we say plan, prepare, prosper, which you just took our tagline. That was great.
I mean,
that was not scripted.
So I have in my mind, I have two clients. One's, we'll say, towards the end of the season of their business career, had really successful. No one's taking over the farm, and so it's sometimes a hard question, or I'll even say awkward. Like, hey, what's the plan here? Because everything's great right now, but what are we gonna do?
We're selling the seller.
If when this that might be the option, right? What are we gonna do? And so understanding just at the end of the day, what are your needs, wants, and desires? And if I can't help you, at least want to facilitate a way to bring in the right people. Yeah. Christopher and I have done that.
Yeah, and I think it goes back. We had recorded a podcast this morning, and it just drives back to the point that we are a values-based business.
Yeah.
We help clients pursue their values and their passion. And that's why I love community banking, because it's about knowing our client so well that we can help drive them so that they can fulfill their values, not ours, but theirs.
In that, I couldn't say it any better. So having that conversation, just understanding, hey, what do you really want? What's your goal here? What's your desire? I would say, I bet you I spend 80% of my time not talking loans, and my job is commercial lending to write loans. Loans become a byproduct generally. So generally there's a capital need at some point. And so that's where at that point when that relationship is there, and I would say trust is super important. Absolutely. And it takes time to earn that. And I use that term, earn that. And I try to be as transparent with what financials clients give me. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. Yeah. Am I missing something? Does it feel right? Because there's so much that goes into that could, a little mistake here, 3 different ways could mean this. But in the same token, I got a client that they're pretty early in their career, established now, but they got kids. And so they literally have another 20 years to really run the business. And I'm like, hey, do you guys have a desire to transfer this business if there's a desire from the kids? Yeah, we'd like to do that. Okay, well, we should probably start actually talking about that. And they looked at me kind of like, what are you talking about? And generally speaking, they had an experience that forced them to make a decision. I'm like, well, let's try to avoid that. Let's if we could kind of best case scenario plan out what you want, let's try to create a roadmap to where we create that opportunity. That's what, if that's a desire. And then if that happens, we can execute that. And so that drives some hypersensitivity in some areas. Sure. And so just understanding that and going, hey, we don't need to do something today, but let's kind of create a roadmap to that. And same thing. Hey, where do you guys want to go? Well, we'd like to be this size and scale. Why do you want to do that? Well, is it just because, or no, this is really the reason why, or hey, we feel to be competitive, we have to be here. This is the margin we have to maintain. All those things go into that. And so, the beautiful part is you get to know their kids. Sure. The same token. Go to the fair, might try to help buy the animal or add some money. And I will tell you I get the most joy from my job from those relationships that just, foster. They turn into, and in some cases, on some level, friends. Sure. There's a balance because there's a business relationship. But, at the end of the day, if I can help them succeed where they want to go, with or without me, then that's achieved. And, with the community banking part, it's really exciting to be a part of people's businesses and helping them grow or phase out maybe, but still a different kind of growth, which adds jobs to the community, enriches their families, things like that. And it's, I could talk for hours on stories of just, and it's hard. I was up really late last night poring over projections on a client's request going, okay, because at the end of the day, I don't want to lend somebody into a spot because I missed something or they missed something, kind of go, hey, eyes wide open. So, we're going to meet next week and go, hey, does this look right? Do you want to do this? Like, this is...
Which I think is a great kind of follow-up question to the relationship, because it's a two-sided relationship, because we know that all businesses go through great times and then some difficult times. Sometimes of their own doing, sometimes of outside of their own doing.
Yeah.
And so during those troubled times, I think their relationship just becomes even more important. So can you talk about kind of, the work that you do and the communication hope that your client has, so that they kind of tell you, hey, we're in a little bit of trouble here before you see it on the income statement or the balance sheet?
Yeah, so I would say most often, once you kind of develop a relationship, I get the phone call, hey, I want to make sure you're aware, and this is what I'm doing, or hey, this is kind of, I struggled this year, this is why. It's like, okay, all right. And so much like a doctor, health scare, right? Hey, I'm on high blood pressure medicine, could I have a heart attack later? Well, maybe, potentially. Your doctor might say, hey, these are some really good things you can do to help mitigate that. Okay, so let me do those things. And so oftentimes I will just tell clients, don't put your head in the sand. Don't suffer in silence. Doesn't mean I can always do something per se, but I've never had a situation where there wasn't a solution. And so we're working on a deal right now, expansion opportunities, I would call it. We've spent 80% of the time talking about the exit strategy if plan A and B doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And so part of that is because if things do get really tight and sustained, back to that risk, understanding all these things, it's going, hey, I care about you more as a person, your family, and there's tons of studies out there. Financial stress ruins people. Mm-hmm. It just totally, you're in a fog of war, and in ag, we've seen different points in history, really prolonged times. And so I always use the term, hey, when do you have to pull the parachute cord? It might mean drastically selling the business potentially, or it might mean, hey, I got to retool this. Let's look at that balance sheet. It might mean also kind of going, hey, I got to lay my pride down maybe and go, let me get a consultant in, or hey, my financial team, I might be an attorney, an accountant, a true business consultant, my lender too, because no one has every answer the right time. But on the very front end, and this is why I structure is, hey, I care about my clients. When I say I care about them, like that is their well-being. And, hey, can we handle certain financial stress for a certain time? Sure. But if you kind of gear that towards what do you want to do long-term, it helps put things in perspective when there is that challenging economic time.
You know their values.
Yeah.
And you know them well, and you have open and honest communication. There's going to be a path.
A relationship that's truly, where the foundation is understanding that end goal, depending on whatever that path is, you're able to walk it together. And generally, if you're in a business, a capital-intensive business that's growing, you're probably going to have some borrowing needs, which includes some sort of a bank or financial institution. And
bank, Mark.
Yeah,
they need to go to a bank.
They do.
Community bank.
I would tell you, in my years of doing this, having, when I say a good relationship with a bank that understands you, is not just vital, I would say it's critically important. Mm-hmm. Critically important. And it takes time to find that. It really does. I'll tell potential clients that, hey, life's too short to do business with someone that you really don't enjoy. So there's a personality side to that where I'm like, hey, if this isn't a good fit, you can tell me, it's okay. But it takes time to do that, because when that opportunity comes, I need someone in my corner that can run with me, because generally speaking, I don't have a ton of time to figure this part out. Mm-hmm. And so it's, and that's where I think having a quality relationship with a community bank is truly critically important, regardless of what continuum you are in the business cycle.
And here we have several services.
Yeah.
I will let you do it.
Okay, thank you for that. We have a new program called the Harvest Prosperity Program, which, we're not just we don't just have Mark ag lending, but we're full service for our ag families. that covers the deposit side. So we have some deposit products that are specifically designed for our ag families, our ag businesses. We have, of course, the lending products that Mark specializes in. And then on the wealth management side, you know, how can we help construct a diversified portfolio for them so that all of their balance sheets not in the farm, but you know, how can they help set up for retirement, do succession planning? So it's a we're a full service organization to our ag families, and we're really excited about it. So Mark, how could they learn more about that, and how could they get a hold of you?
Just pick up the phone and give me a call. And
what's your number?
517-607-8537. I mean, that'll be the number one, just, you know, and then generally speaking, I'll bring on the right people on, you know, hey, looking at this. For me as a lender, just, we got the loan products, you know, we do any type of loan, operating term, real estate, whatever that is, we can do that. It's exciting that, you know, I would say we've collaborated, thought through it on, hey, what are some specific products to the ag businesses, ag families out there that would really add value. And so the fact that we got this, I mean, the details, it would be better to share, you know, personally, we have personal bankers that can help with that. And so just to kind of really look at, you know, your operation, hey, what fits? And that's exciting that we can tailor things to, you know, any business in the cycle.
So you're not just getting Mark, you're getting a whole team of banking professionals. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you taking time to come down and talk with us a little bit and share this, and looking forward to sharing it with our audience.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Go green.
Go white.
Securities and insurance products are not FDIC insured, not being guaranteed, subject to investment risk, may lose value.